Now, when it comes to pruning old trees, there's three basic rules. The first is dead branches, take them out. There's basically no exception to that rule. And the tree shows you what to take out. Look at this one here. The woodpecker has already cut in here with his nab. It's totally dead, there's nothing left. It's just a burden for the tree. Imagine if you had a leg that is not alive anymore, it would be poisoning your body. It has to be amputated, it has to be taken away. Now the tree has a little bit more vitality than we do, so it can deal to a certain degree with dead parts, but the tree is very grateful if we take away whatever is dead. The second rule is whenever there's crossings of branches, take them away, because they will hurt each other. When the wind is there, wind is blowing, it's making friction to each other, making wounds, and the wounds will then attract animals and so forth. So take the crossing parts away. And the third is, as we already said, branches bending down, almost in all cases, also need to be taken out. Now, how do we take out branches? You see here my equipment. When the Osmanic people and the European people, Central European people, were fighting with each other, the Osmanic, the Turkish, always had these crescent, rounded swords, and the Europeans had the straight ones. I have both because they have advantages and disadvantages, both of them. For really big branches, the rounded one is very good, very efficient. And for smaller one, I have a smaller one, but of course you get them also in longer sizes. Now, the kind of saw here is actually a relatively new invention. The Japanese are masters in making these kinds of sword saws. And here in Europe we used to have, I don't even know what they're called in English, bow saws maybe, where you have a smaller blade and then you have a curved skeleton, so to say, in which it is fastened, and then you have you can actually move it. And that's actually something very useful. Unfortunately, I don't have an example right here because this was so improvised now. But when you have this here, you can move it, then you can turn the angle and you can then make even a concave cut. You can cut it so that the cut goes exactly with the structure of the tree. Because when you look at branches, they never just go in a right angle. They always have a kind of collar around them, and it's always with a slight angle towards the stem. And we always want to respect that angle. So we never make a flush cut, we never make a straight cut here, but we always have it in a light angle. That is also because the wound will be much bigger if we cut it flush, and the healing process will be much more difficult because then we would cut really into the wood, whereas otherwise here we can cut, so to say, into this collar, and out of this collar the cambium can develop the healing substances and it can grow much easier. So we do the same thing here. So you see that I left a little bit more of the branch here, and I was much closer to the stem up here. You see that inside it was already dead. The story becomes a little bit more complicated when we are cutting living branches. So when we have to shorten a branch, or when we have crossing branches, then we want to have the remaining branch so that it can still grow. And then we always have to think, okay, if there are any buds left, the last remaining bud is the one that will grow again. So we have to look, okay, the last remaining bud, yeah, it goes in that direction. If I cut this here, if I were to cut this, it will grow in this direction. Then it will grow downward. No, we don't want that. If I cut here, there's one that goes up. Okay, then it will grow this way before it will eventually bend down again. So we always look, what does the tree already show me as potential, so to say, as buds that could develop. So there could be some parts that are simply to be taken away. Here's another dead one. We don't want that. We take that away. Here it has a stump. We take that away. But here we have one growing totally down. And right now, you see, I'm actually, with my left foot, I'm standing on something that is left over here where they didn't do a good cut for several reasons. You see, how do you see me? Here I am. You see here, they cut the branch and they left 10 centimeters. In these 10 centimeters, they cannot grow again. So it would have been more useful to cut it completely. But they did another mistake, which is a very common mistake, but a very tragical for the tree. You see, they just cut it down, and then the branch, under its own weight, broke down, and it made a deep wound into the stem here. And you see that here it's all kind of dead material because it wasn't properly cut. So now I have to take this one here away, but even when I take it away, I cannot make it healthy again in this point because the wound is too deep. So that then, even beyond the visible wound, the fracture goes much, much deeper into the wood. So the fracture goes actually all the way down here into this big branch here. So how can we prevent that? We prevent it by making several cuts. To cut one branch, we have to cut actually 3 times. Here we have a branch that bent totally down, and again it made quite a deep wound here back. So how can we cut this now, not making the same mistake as was done here with this deep wound, as you can see? Well, first we assess how deep we can go. We have to go at least until here, because the wound extends until here. And then we check, okay, in which direction will this branch grow? We have quite an open space here, so there's room for branches to develop. So we can offer the tree this space here to grow. So for example, this branch, this little twig here, goes in the wrong direction. We don't want that one. And also twigs, branches growing towards the inside are always a problem. We always want the branches and the twigs to go outside. So this is not the right one, this is not the right one, this is not the right one, but Here it's getting better. But in order to have this one here and this one here to be promoted, so to say, we first have to cut further out in order to solve this problem of the weight of the tree. So I cut it from below up to a certain point, and then I cut from above until it breaks. But if it now breaks under its own weight, it is not going to make any wound. And now the remaining wood is not heavy, so now I can make one single nice cut that won't make any problem. So now I cut here. And this one here is left over, but there also, you can't really see it, but there are some sleeping buds on this side, which hopefully now will develop and will fill this open space here. So here you see the devastating effect of a bad cut. So here there was no extra cut being done. It should have been done like out here, cutting from below, then cutting from above, then it would have fallen under its own weight, but not making any damage because of this extra cut before, and only then we could have cut all the way in here. What they did instead was just cutting down here, and it fell under its own weight, and it made this deep wound here. It's going many centimeters, at least until here, I would guess, goes into the wood, and you see how that has affected here the tree. The tree cannot really heal this wound because there's no cambium left here to make a callus to make it grow again. But still, if we take it down here, then at least this dead stuff is away and is not standing in the way, because whatever is dead on the tree will rot, will attract animals, will make moisture, will make wet and cold, which is not good for the tree, because just like we human beings, trees need warmth for their development. Yeah, here you see we did something good. Now it has a smooth wound here, but you see, since the damage was so big, there's little cambium here out of which it can heal again. On this part here, there's nothing to do, so the wound will remain.